missed on some of the packets, so if anybody needs those, let me know. You need the yellow page.
I mean, it's
Okay, does anybody else need anything before we get started?
Table. It's coming.
Are there any additions to the agenda that anybody has? If not, I'll call the meeting to order, the January 22nd voters meeting. My name is Mike Tweeten. Virginia will be passing around a sign-up sheet for the meeting, so if you're a voting member, please sign that. As we talk through the meeting for this year, obviously our church has had a lot going on in the past 12 months, even since our last meeting in May. The one thing that just came into my mind over and over again was thank you. Since our last voters meeting, we have taken on the Marion Road property, and we've had some changes amongst our called staff. And throughout all the things, both highs and lows, this congregation has risen to every occasion. I think I speak for the entire council when I say thank you to this congregation. Whatever the ask, the need, the want, this congregation always comes through. And for that, I say thank you. To our elders group and our council, thank you. There's been a lot on their plate in the past couple months, and they have handled everything with grace and leadership, and it's always been Christ focused. So thank you for that. The called staff, thank you guys. You've been very supportive to all of us through everything and have handled everything with grace as well. So with that, I guess thank you to everybody. Our meeting is going to be pretty simple. We only have 2 action items, and that's election of some representatives to the Synod Convention and the acceptance of our budget. So, Pastor, I guess I'll let you lead us in the opening prayer and devotion.
The challenge as pastor when you get an opening devotion is not to make a second sermon. So you guys let me know how I did. All right? All right, I'm going to start with, this is the verse that was today in church, but I want to come back to it from Mark chapter 2. A few days later, when Jesus again entered Capernaum, the people heard that he had come home. So many gathered that there was no room left, not even outside the door, and he preached the word to them. Some men came bringing to him a paralytic, carried by the 4 of them. Since they could not get him to Jesus because of the crowd, they made an opening in the roof above Jesus, and after digging through it, lowered the mat, and the paralyzed man was lying on it. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Son, your sins are forgiven." This man had a community that brought him to Jesus. And as pastor, it is my joy and privilege to serve with this community that so often continues to point each of us to Jesus. And as a pastor, you may not always see it, but I see it when I visit people in their homes, when I check in on the hospital, when people give me calls, and I see just how much your encouraging emails, phone calls, visits, check-ins, prayers mean to people. So thank you for partnering with me and the staff and our leaders here in bringing people to Jesus. We have a partnership in the gospel, and I pray that as we do that more and more, that we will have an opportunity to reach more and more in our community as they see our love for Jesus as we shine it forth. Is that okay? Sermon? All right, let's pray. Dear gracious and heavenly Father, Paul prayed in thankfulness for his partnership in the gospel with the church at Philippi. And today I pray in thankfulness with the partnership I have in the gospel with the church here in Rochester. Lord, I pray that you would continue to help us focus more and more on you, that you would grow us in this partnership so that more and more may grow in their faith, more and more may hear as we share in your love, and that we can be those brothers and sisters that encourage each other in our walk with you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Next item up on the agenda is the approval of the May 22nd voters meeting minutes as submitted in the annual report. So I'll look for a motion to approve that. In a second, please raise your hand and state your name when you make the motion. Okay. Do I have a second? Second. Can you state your name?
Carol Wilson.
All right, all in favor of approving the minutes from them, I'm sorry, is there any discussion on that first? If not, I'll ask, all in favor, raise your hand. Anybody opposed? Okay. All right, thank you for that. Next item is our reports, and I'll start with our financial report from Greg.
Packet of stuff, agenda, page 22. We'll start with page 22. Okay, offerings year-to-date was $1,217,317.18. Expenses was $1,207,317.18. We actually ended up with a positive profit for the year of $25,981.11. Per console procedure was allocated, $10,000 remained in the billable cash balance, 20% went to the prior year undesignated missions, and the $12,000 went to the undesignated console, so it was reallocated, so that's where the $10,000 come over. It actually was quite a bit of stuff. Came from a large deficit back in November to a positive in December. Sorry. Okay. Okay, second page, page 23, kind of shows I guess the biggest one for me is about 3/4 of the way down is number of days available cash, with a big offerings towards the end of the year ended up being 10.85 available days of cash, percentage cashes was 10.85, so that's really good. And then the rest of it kind of talks about the where the money went, in a little bit of a breakdown. Education, the dedicated accounts, education, music, building equipment, youth, missions, holding accounts, staff administration, church events, church groups, and memorials. Is there any questions? The rest of the budget and stuff we'll talk about in a little bit. Yes, Dr. Martin.
Are we auditing ourselves?
There's an audit set up, yes. We're going to be able to audit everything done because of COVID.
Can you say that again, Mike?
Okay, he was asking if there was an audit. The audit is in process. It hadn't been done the last couple of years because of COVID, but we are in the process of getting people to do that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Greg, or we'll move on to staff reports?
All right, so you have our printed reports, and I encourage you to please take those and use those as reading material, but even more importantly, as as prayer materials, you kind of see what's on our hearts. What council asked the staff to report on was two other questions that aren't necessarily in the report, so please keep those reports, read them, use them as prayers. So the first question we asked to report on is, what ministry opportunities are you excited about in 2023? And I think as I get ready to share that, I have to just say this though, like, a big event happened here, didn't it? So like, still grieving, tired, like seeing through the fog a little bit, but also know like, man, God is on the move. He's using this for His glory. He makes all things new, and He's using this for our faith growth. So even in some of that fog, there are exciting things to look at. And one thing, and this looks back a little bit, but I'm excited about, we had an opportunity as a church to be the caring people that we are. And it was exciting to see how many people partnered with the Lowe's family to care for them, to love them, and to help them in their time of need. So that it's like where the rubber meets the road, and it's exciting to me to see that in that hard circumstance, but also to see it as we do it so often in our day-to-day lives. Right now, I'm really excited about this being challenge. It's what a great time for this to happen in our church kind of life together, where everybody, whether you're adult ed, Sunday school, church worship, or our home devotions, are all looking at the same thing. And the whole part of this is prioritize your relationship, your being with Jesus. That is the foundation for everything we do. So I'm really excited for the momentum that's creating, and I look forward to the habits that will help all of us, as all of us challenge ourselves to prioritize that relationship. I'm excited about some of the partnerships that we're still forming and looking at with the Japanese Christian Fellowship Group. We had our first bilingual service here at Christmas time, and that was a wonderful thing to be a part of. We're still looking at what that's going to mean as they keep moving forward, but I'm excited about that. I'm excited, and this, as crazy as it sounds, like walking in this vacancy, I don't think gives us like an opportunity for two things. First, it gives us an opportunity to reassess where things are at, where the holes are, what we need in this new season, and then to start looking at ministry descriptions for all of our team accordingly as we now move into a new season of ministry, because the world changed with COVID, right? And that's only one thing, right? So what's this new ministry, and using this as an opportunity to reassess, retool, and move forward. Also, I'm excited because I was looking at the agenda. So last year at this meeting is when I was announcing if I was or not taking the call to Emmanuel. And you look back at that, and one thing that God has put firmly on my brain in the beginning, but especially now, like God sent me there for this moment right now, like right now. One thing being there, that church had been in 5 years without a senior pastor and over 2 years without both pastors. And so that's a long season. And that church had made a mindset shift that was exciting to see. And the mindset shift was they started, and the question that they were asking, they say this was small thinking, is what do we have to stop because we're in a vacancy? Now, are there things that are going to stop because we're in a vacancy? Yes, right? Can't do all the things, right? But that mindset was basically, this was what was driving it. The professional workers we hire do all the things. So if they're gone, we can't do the things. And then they shifted, and this was the exciting things I saw about a year and a half after, to this question. Where can we step in alongside the gifted staff we have to expand ministry, even now? And it was exciting to see all the different ways they were doing that, using that question. So I encourage all of you, as we start thinking, like, where can we step in alongside the gifted staff that we have to partner together and to really leave out Ephesians 4. So Ephesians 4, there's two important different things in the church. There's the called workers or the pastors, the teachers, there's the evangelists, and they're doing one thing, but there's also the lay members, and they're equipping each other for the work of the ministry so the body may be built up. Both groups have the same job, building up the body, and are working together. So I'm looking forward to how we can insert that question in our life together. Where do we step alongside the staff we have to expand ministry? As I share that, though, the next question they're asking is just that. So where can you guys partner with us to expand ministry? And I'm going to start with this analogy. So when a family has a family member that dies, usually in the first couple days or weeks, there's a lot of people reaching out for what? Support and help, right? And then you get a month or 2 months down the road, and then they kind of start seeing the new normal a little bit and lifting a little bit in the fog, but really starts, some of the things really start settling in. And sometimes what happens? The support and care is gone, right? So I'm using that analogy because it has been overwhelming in the best sense of all the people have been reaching out and saying, how can we help in this new season? And I know that answers will start to come and be more concrete to you as we move forward, but think of that analogy. So right now, we're in that grieving stage, and down the road, month or two, we're going to start lifting our heads and start seeing concrete things, and I encourage you to keep that same heart and that same mindset then as right now. Where can we help? Where can we partner? Where do we continue to grow together in our relationship? So I'm excited about that. That's one way. Keep asking that question, but know if we're not giving answers now just because we're trying to reassess and see what the concrete answers are. Other thing I'm excited about, our elders have been doing awesome work, and I think this time is only going to give them an even greater encouragement to be carrying contacts for their zone. And I bring that up here because one thing that breaks my pastor heart is I keep hearing this, all right? Pastor's too busy, I can't tell him this. That breaks my heart, all right? I'm working on boundaries and how to guard my family time and other things and being intentional with those things so you can come to me. All right? So if there's something on your heart, you can approach me. But also, you got that letter in the mail in December that lists your zone elder. They are phenomenal men of faith, and I love partnering with them, and they are there too. So if you can't get over that hurdle of, man, pastor's too busy, just reach out to your elder. They're awesome, and they're here for you. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that. One thing that I need, and the ask will get more concrete right now, but I really need two people, 2 or 3 that are when visitors come and visit, I will go and meet them, sit down with them, get to know them, and help them get connected to Redeemer. Because if that keeps staying just on me in this vacancy, those visits are going to get pushed way further out than I want them to be. So there's a couple of you that really have that, I love going to coffee, or I love meeting somebody and sitting down with them before or after church and getting to know them. Just let me know. That would be a huge help. Otherwise, concrete asks will be coming more as we move forward, but I'm excited to do ministry with this family of believers. Any questions? All right, Michael, you're up next.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
I really liked in this past week's, the blurb that comes out from the church each week that said, somebody put in pew, we need people to help with pew maintenance. Those are the kinds of things that are very helpful for those of us that cannot go visit and give communion or things like that. But if we have something that's listed that says this is specifically what we need, to me, that's very helpful. I can pick up the phone and send an email.
Yeah.
I can do that.
And so Kara's is saying she liked in the bulletin or the email blast where it says specific need of pew maintenance. So I know our stewardship team is working on how do we start gathering some of those needs that are out there so we can communicate it to the church of here's some of those holes, here's those tasks that we needed. Because there are a lot of needs. Yes. Good thought. Any other questions, thoughts? All right, Michael.
All right, yes, looking at the future. I think your goal is to make this shorter, but it's not necessarily, yeah, I am on the clock. Yeah, we're all on the clock, right? Tell people about Jesus, right, Virginia? That's right. Yeah, so like the future is like a beautiful place to live and dance and play, right? And so I do that often, I enjoy a lot. I'm not gonna burden you with all my crazy thoughts, okay? I'll limit it to just a few, all right? So some of the things that are most exciting for me that are coming up, just so you guys are aware, and some of these may be like referenced in the report, some may not be. For a long time, I have had this thought of, wouldn't it be cool if we could kind of somehow engineer family faith coaching? Like where you go into the house with the young families trying to figure out, what do I do with this child and how do we start doing this sort of thing, this faith growth in the home? And Pastor Coughlin, after many years of thinking and praying and was floating the idea, he's like, all right, here's the easy way to do it. Every baptismal family I visit, I'm going to say, next person you're going to talk to is Michael Harvey. So that step was taken, but I wasn't ready for it. So I love the gauntlet. That was awesome. So I reached out to Heather Tollers, and Heather and Sue and I met one night. We're thinking about how to kind of find cool entry points for these young families to walk in and say, here's something I want to give to you, and here's the rest of the conversation as we go. And that's developing. We've got some families that already kind of said, it's coming. Just be patient, right? So family faith coaching is going to be, I am excited to see where that goes, and that may be a place where people can partnership with me if that is a joy and a love for you. And we have an amazing family ministry team that is doing awesome things that I know is going to have great input as that develops. And I just am so excited about the future as the family ministry team has been doing an awesome job with family get-togethers. How many have gone to a summer picnic? A summer family get-together picnic, right? Or that thing at Redeemer Marion Road where you could see the building and eat some food and socialize, right? These are like family ministry times, and there's more coming up, so pay attention. Like this end of this week is one where there's going to be bingo. Are you kidding me? Bingo? That's going to be so awesome. So that's going into the future. That's like, if COVID is waning, like we're still kind of paying attention to it, some of us, but it's waning and we need to get together and become a family again. And the family ministry team is helping us do that in some really cool ways, along with other groups that are doing good things too, but it's fun to work with that team. Leadership development is still going, and after council has done the focus tool, if you're on a team, a ministry team here, and you haven't had a chance to go through the focus tool, or you're sitting going, you know, as a leader, I'm kind of struggling these ways, come talk to myself, or Paul Queasley, or Rich Gommels, or Dolores McGillivray, or someone on that team, because that team is constantly thinking of ways to make leadership home at this church, and we're I think there's some exciting things coming. And small group being challenge. If you're a table host for the Bean Challenge, could you stand up, please? Or stand up. Go ahead, stand up. You guys, we've been sitting a while. You can stand up, right? Look at all these people! Please let them know. Like the Bean Challenge, this is the heart and soul is that small group interaction. And Pastor's nodding his head. He put a lot of work into that, the coordinating and stuff like that. But he also recognizes the power of you guys as table hosts. And if you haven't had a chance to join us Saturday night or Sunday morning, please come and join us because it is worth your time. And these table hosts do a phenomenal job. There's a lot of other good stuff coming, but I see the hook coming as well. So if you want to hear more, definitely talk to me. There's some good stuff coming in the future. And I'm not ignoring the crazy stuff that we've gone through together. We're going to go through that together all the way. But God is not done here. Right? God is just beginning. Who's next? April.
The way back, like playing the organ, way in the back. I just have to say, I am so thankful. It is such a blessing that this year, last year we were meeting in person for choirs and everything, but I don't know if you've noticed, there's a live group pretty much at every Sunday service, which is fantastic and wonderful. And I don't know if you were there on Christmas Eve, if you got, depending on which service you were at, but instruments of praise in between and playing, and just the wonderful atmosphere that is, and sharing and enriching our time together. So thankful for that. This year has been great because I've been back with the Sunday school kiddos singing. So I was with the senior high youth earlier this year, and the 5th and 6th graders, and today started with the 1st through 4th graders. So it's wonderful to get into those classrooms and sing with those students, especially those that don't get to come on a Wednesday night and be a part of those activities. It's nice to still be able to be with them and share with them. Youth Chimes has also been on a Sunday morning, and I'm hoping to catch them this spring again. We did this fall. RCLS is going to be visiting us, the handbell group, so they'll be coming. And really what's exciting, there's some kiddos in the choirs that like invite friends. That's what we're supposed to do, right? Invite our friends. And so one week I have another, and then I have another. And so do that. Bring people to church. If you like to sing, come sing. If you know someone that likes to sing, invite them to come sing. It's a great place to meet other people and to join and be able to serve and share Jesus with others. So, yeah. Josh is next.
Well, hey everybody. So it's good to talk with you, and honestly, I think mine might be a little bit briefer than some other ones here, but I'll share with you some things I'm excited about. Number one, VBS. Okay, and you may think that's a really long way away, but it's not, because I got the curriculum like last week, and I'm really excited because we're going to space, and it's going to be awesome. We're excited for that. That also goes into something that I need, and that's you. Because VBS is this awesome time frame where we get like kids coming here, and it's because we have a little bit of a niche sort of time frame for us to have VBS. A lot of VBSs are in the evening, and ours is mainly Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to noon. So if you are available this summer in July, you should think about that, because kids need to hear about Jesus and they need to hear it from you. Okay. That's something else this summer I'm excited about, is our youth ministry is going to be doing something new and different. We are heading to Kentucky to visit the Ark Encounter and the Creation Museum, and then spend some time together getting to know each other better and do some team building and leadership development and things like that. We haven't done something like this as a youth ministry yet, and I'm excited to see where this is going to go. So I'm asking for some prayers for those things. I'm asking for maybe you to think about, in particular for VBS, maybe RSE, since we've got a lot of new churches coming on board for that. Like, hey, how can I be on support help? How can I help make VBS happen in some awesome ways? And also recognize that this summer we're going to have like most of this 9th Avenue here completely under construction. So we'd appreciate some prayers. We'd appreciate some encouragement. We'd appreciate your involvement, your PR, all those things, because we can reach new kids and new people this next year. The last thing I just want to ask for some prayer in general. Remember our youth, remember our children in your prayers. They go through an awful lot and have gone through an awful lot over these last few years. And as we're talking here today over friendships, like it was just kind of palpable to me the conversations of, amongst our youth, like what have you guys gone through over these last few years in this regard? So how do we communicate the need, and how do we bring about community together, and friendships and growth in that? So consider those things and consider how you can help. That would be what I got for that. There's a hand raised though.
I just wanted the dates of VBS.
The dates for VBS are July 16th through 20th. That should be a Sunday through Thursday. We will start Sunday night again, outside with everybody. Get hopefully the neighborhood a little bit more jazzed about it too, so they can join us maybe the next day. All right, I think I was supposed to hand this off to Jan. All right, Jan.
What about Tuesday?
Oh, okay, all right. So if this hasn't been announced enough, because Pastor Coughlin's been pretty excited about this, there is Pizza Ranch on Tuesday. So if you haven't ate with youth enough yet, come on out. Stewartville's a great place to be. So Pizza Ranch on Tuesday. Come for the evening, and we'd love to have you, and our youth will clean up after you. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Well, you said he would be short, but I can't be short because I'm part-time, right? We had a sadness occur to Kathy and I this fall, and we lost one of our parish nurses who got very busy with RCLS and her role that she's playing there. In 2 roles, actually, she is. Not everybody knew how busy she could be. But, so we have that vacancy, but we don't know. Our mission in the next 2 weeks is to rest, as Pastor Collins said, see where the ministry goes. I've had many gracious people volunteer to help do our visitation, which is our primary role. Kathy, my primary role is visitation and also the reports. The support system that she has. And those roles will continue, but many of our other roles that we have done, or the Ministry of the Health Cabinet does, have to be put aside for a little bit because there's just not enough people here for that. And we said it was okay, right, Pastor? Yeah, we said it was okay. So, so thank you for your continuing support of our members. Project Compassion sent out 72 poinsettias for Christmas. Now, people have been deleted, people have come back, people are added. It's a continual. Wouldn't you think us old people would stay in one place? No. They don't. And so it's almost a full-time keeping track of where our members are. But so obviously, Kathy and I can't do that alone, so we need all those around us to help with that role. So I thank you for everyone that has come forth. I'm with Mike on that. It's been awesome. And the blood pressure program is strong. We've had lots of
Yes, and I think at council meeting, it was brought up that we didn't have people, that people were added to take the blood pressure group. And so, but then other people came forward, and it's full. We don't have any more room for any more for till April. So spring is good. So I'm going to go to Arizona tomorrow and say it's all good. I'm going to have fun.
Thank you, Jan. Just 2 notes. So one name that I forgot to mention on here, Brandy Colby. She is our part-time staff member for nursery coordinating. She's not down here right now because she's in the nursery. So we're thankful for her and that's being retooled and being used again in new ways as more things are happening again. And also you'll notice on here a new name, Sid Thompson. He's unable to be with us today because of a family event that happened. But Sid is our communication media specialist, part-time. Right now he's starting on figuring out the website and getting that active and going, so it's off of Michael and Chris's plates and working on that. He's also working on social media, and we have tons of awesome things happening here. How can we use social media to make sure that other people outside Redeemer know about who we are and what we're about and are connected here? He made that welcome video. What I know, one of the things he's going to be working on this next season is trying to get in some of the teams to maybe even at times put together little videos to share, like, or posts of like choir's awesome, and here's pictures of our choirs, and join one and be a part of that, but getting some of that narrative out. So Sid, awesome guy. You'll get to know him more. We're gonna hopefully, he's gonna have to help. He's a communication guy, but make a little welcome video for him so you all can meet him and see that. They can go out in the email blast. So there you go.
Thank you, Pastor. Before we move on to informational items, I just want to stop for just a quick second and say thank you again to the staff. We all know what they're going through. They're grieving. It's tough. And we were pretty adamant we wanted them to vision cast, even though we knew what they were going through, and I think you guys did a great job. And despite everything, we're still moving forward. So thank you guys again for that. Next is the Redeemer Marion Road update. Virginia.
Thank you. And our report from our logistics team that took care of some of the nuts and bolts of that, obtaining that property and making sure everything was done correctly is on page 15. So there's a list of all the things that were done on that. And I will just reiterate what everyone else has said. The depth of expertise of this congregation is just phenomenal. And I just really appreciate that more and more as I get to know many of you, of how you've been able to step forward in roles and do complicated things to get things done in a timely manner. And people know me, like yesterday was too slow. So thank you very much for all the work on that team. Now, one of the things that we've heard was that, what are the costs for this property on Marion Road coming from, and is this just a drain on the budget? We don't want to think of it like that at all. We have some income from that property, and this is part of our mission visioning, which we've heard and talked about in various ways. This provides us a wonderful opportunity to expand our mission to that area, which is going to have a wonderful housing development built behind it, and the opportunities that are available there are yet to be revealed to us. So I want everyone to start thinking about this property in terms of mission expansion. And when we think about it that way, we're not thinking about it's a drain on our budget. We're thinking of how can we add more money to support what's going on out there. So if you have any questions about the logistics of what's been done, the property is being used by the Aniwak Ethiopian Church. I came in from the airport yesterday in Rochester, had an Ethiopian cab driver. So we talked about that particular group worshiping in our facilities. I forgot to ask him if he was a Christian because the ride from the airport to my home was too short. So anyway, and Pablo is also using that facility. So when we think about multi-ethnic mission out in that area and having our congregation look like the community in which we live, there's wonderful opportunities there. So if you have any questions about it, let me know. Otherwise, I think that was short. I'll turn it over to Daryl, who will continue the idea of using our time, talents, and treasure.
I'm here today using mine as you all are as well, so that's good. Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe leave that open to your judgment. But I'm Daryl Schultz. I'm specifically here today to talk about stewardship and stewardship team. Other members, Virginia is a part of that. We had Pastor Coughlin helps us, and then we had 2 new members join us, Brian and Mike. So it's nice to have some additional faces, but we're always, of course, looking if anybody else has some other skills that they'd like to help us out with. Our goal as a stewardship team is to help Redeemer members and really anybody, hopefully, share their time, talent, and treasures and for God's glory, not for our own, but for His. And my role today here is to introduce the budget and speak a little bit about stewardship as well as some other items for the mission budget specifically. That is on page, mine is, 27. Oh, mine says 25. Okay, 27. So, I'm not going to go through this line by line, But in the upper left-hand corner, it says missions. And basically, just before I dive into that, actually, I want to highlight something in that I'm a money guy, but I mean, budget is important. I'm not trying to downplay budget, but budget is like where the heart meets the head. The head is the budget, where we have to think, okay, we've got expenses. We have to cover them. But what I'm excited about is the heart part of this church, because we should celebrate that our giving, I track back 5 years, it's been up every single year. 5 years in a row. I only went back 5 years. Frankly, it's probably a lot more longer than that, but for every 5, even during COVID, it was up. Not only was it up, but it's up 37% over 5 years ago. That's huge. I mean, it's over $1 million. Well over $1 million. So that's really exciting. And it's not just up for, this budget here is for our mission giving, but every dollar that comes in here is really mission, because it's going to staff, which is local ministry in action. And this specific stewardship budget regarding mission is, you can see there, I'm not going to go through each item, and they're basically some that have added, some that have been changed, but our big ones always are district and synod, which is also mission focused, and then Pablo, which I'm sure by now a lot of you are familiar with Pablo, but basically they've had some changes in terms of location, but we're still supporting them both volunteering with our time and talent, and our treasurer with our specific budget. So the one just distinction I'll make on this budget is, if you look to where there's a break under Grace Foundation, as a team we talk about that being like the line, and everything above that line is something that we are specifically dedicating money towards from Redeemer. So when we say district or Pablo, $45,000 is our budget item this year, that means $45,000 is going to go to them. We have, will end up being. So they're going to total it all up for this year, the overall budget number, and that's about 13%. Our goal has tried to be 13 to 15%. And so mission giving is done, with the app or with envelopes, however you're using it, direct. You can say, I want this dollar amount to go to missions when you're giving. And if you don't, a portion from whatever you donate through that gift automatically goes to missions. But if you want specific dollars to go to missions, you just write in there the dollar amount you want to go to missions, and the others are local ministry, which then obviously would go to the local ministry budget outside of missions. Any questions on that? We used to do a little tutorial on that, but if you have any questions, see me and how that works. But real quickly, we just added a couple new ones this year. The ethnic immigrant EIIT is one that we added, where we're actually sponsoring 2 students, Pastor Cogley, one student, to help them learn in place, basically, to become a pastor, which is a really cool program that we're specifically trying to help build for or sponsors so others can build as well. Any other questions as far as the items for the missions? I'm not going to go through each one, but that was one I just wanted to highlight. All right, great. Just a couple other quick things. The one area that we could use some help this year as a team is we're trying to go through, and actually help from everybody, is a vetting and a selection process for the missions that we give to. We want to vet the ones that we're giving to make sure that they're doing what they said they would do, but we also want to look forward, because we get a ton of different opportunities to give to. So if you have any input on that process, we'd love to speak to you. We've got some variables that we generally try and run different mission opportunities through as a team, but we could definitely use some other input on what you think is important that we should be looking at. Not necessarily the specific mission, but like our process of how do we pick what we're sending money towards or dedicating money to. And the other thing I would just add as part of a giving and a time and talent and treasure is that even though we're having a vacancy at this point, we still in the budget have a placeholder for the associate pastor's salary. I think it's just good practice. It's there, but it also shows dedication to that and dedication of continually keeping on top of mind our giving. And the other thing that I would say that we could use some help with as a team is this February, we're doing a financial peace class again by Dave Ramsey. I'm helping lead it, and if you have ever been a part of it before and would like to help out, I'd like to see you. I've got an idea this year for our class. And we're also splitting it up this time, where we're going to do some of it in the front half, take a break formally from the class, but do some work, and then finish up the class in the fall. So we can use some help just going through that class. So if you like helping other people make changes in their financial lives so they can do some great giving at the final kind of baby step, if you're familiar with that program, we'd love to have you spread the word and also help us spread the word and help us deliver the class. So any other questions for me?
No.
Yes?
Automatic deductions, but does the congregation support that? Any kind of number?
So Bob asked about automatic deductions, which I'm assuming you mean just electronic giving. We have the capability, if that's what you're asking, and people are taking advantage of that.
I wanted to know if the number was increasing with time.
So I have not, I would say anecdotally, yes. I haven't looked specifically at the reports to see like what did we do in the past in terms of quantity of givers and dollars being given that way. But I do get the reports just to see the sheer volume of people or lines, I would say, have increased over time.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So we got a lot of different ways to give. That was one of the things that COVID brought up is other tools and opportunities to give. And every way is, I think, a thoughtful way, because some people like the automatic approach. First fruits just automatically happens. Others like the physical action of the envelope and having kids see it, their kids see it. I know with my kids when they were little, they saw it, and they would be the ones that would get to put it in the plate. So it was. It all depends on what your approach and viewpoint is, but I think we've got them pretty well all covered. However you choose to give, we certainly have ways to do it. So thank you, and remember, with all this, we don't have to do all this giving. We get to. So it's a big blessing. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Daryl. One note on the fully funded associate pastor salary. That was a discussion item through council and with the personnel and staffing committee, and I think it was pretty unanimous that we wanted to keep that in there just to keep everybody focused. So you guys will get a chance to vote on that here in a little bit. Next up is the vacancy update from Kurt.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good day. It's good night. I currently chair the Board of Elders, and I don't start all of these meetings with jokes, so don't worry about it. Just so you know, the primary communication we have for the vacancy comes through the email blast that goes out every week. There's a little segment in there called the Vacancy Prayer and Communication Corner. And as we proceed through this process, information about that vacancy is going to show up there. If you don't happen to be an email subscriber, up on the Welcome Center podium is a reprint of everything that's in the Vacancy Prayer and Communication Corner. So that is the way the word is going to get out. You can either pick it up from the Welcome Center or you can keep up with your email. And if you haven't had the opportunity to do either, that's why I'm here right now. If you have been keeping up, nothing I'm going to tell you is new news. All right, it's all been reported. So, by way of an update, I believe from the very beginning, we've had good guidance from the district. President Wickford, especially in the early days and weeks following the circumstances surrounding the vacancy, gave us good structure, things to think about, a path to follow, and I think that was very helpful. Among the guidance that he gave us was, given the circumstances, give the congregation some time to heal. All right? And the time that he outlined as pretty much a minimum is 3 months. So we think back, we say, all right, this all happened right around Thanksgiving. Let's make December 1 the beginning. We've been through December, we're almost through January. We're going to work this, be patient through February. And the earliest that we'll see the district come back and reach out to us to see if we are ready to move forward with a call process is going to be in March. So keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that we're here to listen if you have anything you want to talk about. The circumstances surrounding the vacancy were a little difficult. Everybody's going to process that in their own way. Board of Elders, we've been wearing our elder-specific name tags on Sundays at services when we attend. And we invite you, if you have something that you want to say or share, to seek us out and talk to us. We're not mind readers. We're not going to know where you all sit in terms of your readiness to move on unless we get some feedback. You certainly can reach out to anyone on the staff. You can also reach out to anyone from the Stevens Ministry, which is a tremendous group of listeners. All right? So let us know, if you need to, what's on your mind. Meanwhile, and this is outlined in the corner also, we should all be praying through this process. There are scripture and prayer suggestions that are put out weekly in the communication corner. So read the scripture, pray the prayers, stay with us on this. And as I said, the district will work with us to determine when the time is right to move forward with a call process. Our primary focus right now as a board is on staff workload. We're working to ensure that Pastor has a ministry and vacancy plan in place. We look at it short term. We're going to have to do this through the long term. Right now, I think we're in pretty good shape. I can say that we're very grateful for those who have already stepped up and contributed time and talent to help us through this. Specifically, I know we've had Pastor Adi here already as a guest minister. Pastor Heining's been awesome in his retirement role. He's taken on visitations. He's done, well, I know, one weekend service, and our thanks to him. But there's people I don't know about who have stepped up as well. So thanks to everyone who has stepped up to help already. Pastor Cogman's been through a vacancy before. Now it turns out that it was self-imposed. He accepted the call to be the administrative pastor here. It was left a vacancy, and so he got to work his way through that. He learned a lot from that, and he's applying what he learned, which is also important in recognizing the boundaries that he talked about and how we're trying to work with him so that he can protect his family time along with the time that he serves you with day in and day out. So we're going to continue to work with him on that. As he indicated, we are blessed with a great staff, so we need to be looking at everyone's workload in that regard, because we don't really know without asking ourselves, where's the impacts here? And are there things we can do to help? And it certainly doesn't do them or us any good to just use them up and burn them out. That's not where we want to be in the midst of a vacancy. So as Pastor Coughlin suggested earlier, and I had in my notes, consider asking, and I know a lot of you already have, how can I help? And as much as that came out early in December and January, consider asking again. And there may not always be a ready answer, but recognizing that you all have different time that you can give, you all have different talents you can offer, and this goes to the congregation as a whole. Chances are there's a role you can play to help us through this. The workload discussion will be part of our agenda every time we meet as a board during this vacancy, so that's going to stay right in front of us. And I guess in closing here, I'll just say,
So we keep hearing, ask how we can help.
Right.
But he's got enough emails to read and phone calls to answer. Who should we be openly offering ourselves up.
So the question is, you can ask Pastor how to help, and he's already buried with his inbox, so who to ask? That's part of the problem is, what's the chain? I mean, you can certainly ask, seek out an elder and ask us, have the conversation, or, if you prefer to send an email, just make us aware that there's a need. I mean, ultimately, it's going to come back to Pastor Codman or somebody on the staff anyway, but we can funnel that in and have those conversations. There's no easy answer, no magic answer to that. And some of it might come from, like Tara suggested earlier, if we're specific about needs in what we communicate, in the weekly email blast, it might be easier to even be able to say, here's who to call, if you need help. So, that's something that, it's a great question. We'll just have to try to keep that up, try to stay out ahead of it.
Kurt?
Yes?
We've talked about the staff, which is the number one thing. Can we also get lists of what the family needs? I mean, if the family needs help running errands, cleaning a house, because it takes a toll on the whole family, not just the staff.
So the question is, the staff has its needs, but when you say the family, you're speaking specifically of their spouses, their families. Yeah, what can we be doing to help?
If there are.
If there are things that we can help with, what are those things? Again, great question. Part of what was outlined for us by President Woodford is to create what's called a boundaries covenant with the staff, and we're starting this with Pastor Coughlin. And the boundaries covenant, if you read his report, a lot of what he's trying to do is in his pastor's report. It's documented for you. But another part of what goes on with that, if we follow the guidance, is to have a regular check-in with his spouse and say, all right, this is what he claims he's doing. How do you see it? Right? So it's called accountability. And I know Pastor Coughlin has good mentors and good support that are doing that with him right now. But we can do that with Bryce and with Hannah and with spouse Rachel. So we should be doing that too. Yeah, and Mrs. Harvey as well. So. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Closing thought: be patient. Pray continuously. Where have you heard that before? And help if you can. Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt. I will thank you guys for your leadership and transparency through this whole thing. It has been a blessing. With that, we'll move on to the two action items we have. First one is the election of representatives to the Synod Convention. I think, Pastor, you're going to explain that a little bit before we vote.
And I will say, I did proofread this agenda, so it's on me. So it's, what we're action is not representatives to synodical convention. What the representatives, the voting members from this congregation for the synodical president, which happens before the convention, all right? The convention are voted with the circuit. So right now, what we're putting forward is every congregation puts forward the pastoral representative that votes for the president, and then a lay member. And we brought towards the elders, like, hey, maybe just like a consistent thing is each year when this comes up every 3 years, we have an elder president and vice president that are meant to be chair of and help in spiritual growth of a congregation. So it would be good maybe to look to them two first and see which one of those might want to come and be that voting representative. But the actual representative has to be voted by the church in a voters meeting. So the elders are passing on me as the pastor, and then Tom Worley, you can wave, woohoo, as the lay voter for the synodical president. Is that clear? All right, so if that's clear, I'll give it to you for motions and such.
Sounds good. So yeah, I will open it up for a motion to accept the nominees. Do I see a second? Okay. I will ask everyone to raise their hand. Yeah. Anybody opposed? Okay, unanimous, Vicky. Next will be the presentation of our 23 budget. Craig?
In your handout here, we're going to start on page 26. Just briefly go through it a little bit.
Or 24.
Or 24, depending on what copy you got. Okay, programs. If you first category on here is programs, and that's stayed about the same as last year, about $8,300. Office administration went up a little bit under computer and IT maintenance, computer upgrades and IT updates. Facilities went up. Property insurance went up a little bit. The big one was natural gas. Last year that almost doubled from our cost. And then also telephone and internet. Then there's the new one on the budget this year, Redeemer Marion Road. A little background. We had appraisal done on the property. That appraisal came out to be $819,000 for the two pieces of the property, the church and the parsonage that is rented out for around $1,080 after commissions. So it does have some income. There's also was money in the Marion Road account that was given to us at that time period of $39,000. Missions was covered by Daryl earlier, he did a good job on that. Worship and devotion stayed about the same, went up a little bit, $100. Actually, education and youth actually went down. A few less people going to our LSC for tuition and storage. And then the last page, we got personnel. It's gone up, but also you got to keep in mind, and we also have a new person, it's around $10,000, the communication specialist. So it's actually only like $34,000 instead of $44,000. The overall budget went up 5.45% from the budget from 2022. If you take out Mary Road, it would actually be 3.86% increase. And if you look at inflation for 2022, it was about 6.5%. Is there any questions?
I hate to be the one to ask a question, because I feel like I should know this. But seeing the natural gas expense, and I'm guessing I'm asking for a trustee to help me out on this one. If we were at $19,000 for expenses this last year, but we only budgeted $15,000 for 2023, like, are we okay with that? I don't know. Like, that's not how budgets in my house work, I guess. So,
I think part of it is we're hoping the prices have gone back down again with all the cold weather and freezing of plants last year, kind of up the prices. I don't know, maybe if Anita's got any thoughts.
I mean, I'm fine. I had heat on my office for last month. I'm okay with that. I mean, that works.
So we have a motion to approve the budget as presented by Bob. Is there any more discussion, or do I have a second? Yeah, does anybody second that?
I'll second.
Sue, second. All right, any more discussion one last time, or we'll vote on the 23 budget? All right, Everybody in favor of approving the 23 budget, please raise your hand. Is anybody opposed? It's unanimous. All right, well, thank you for that. Also, in the theme of thank you Anita for all your work that you put into this every year. All right, with that, I think I'll take a motion to adjourn. That's the last item, and then I'll let Virginia close us out.
I would be remiss, every army needs a commander-in-chief. So for the past year, we've had a commander-in-chief to lead us along with the entire army to get the jobs done for each one that was classified, as well as starting a to-do list of what is potentially planned for the future. So, thanks.
Yeah, has everybody got a chance to sign the clipboard that went around, or did it stall out? We got it back there. You guys need it? Okay, all right, sounds good. With that, yes. Okay, thank you. That's Kathy. Do I have a second? Man, yeah, Paul. Man, I'm terrible with names today. Sorry, Paul. All right, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, meeting adjourned, and Virginia will close us out.
So I'm going to keep with the theme of shortness for this meeting and have a short devotion, which I'd like to pick up from Pastor's sermon today. Is that what struck me, as familiar as I am with that passage about that story of the man being let down, it never occurred to me it was his friend's faith. Okay, that was like an aha moment for me. Okay, we are those friends. Okay, and so it's up to us to show that, to bring others, and to actually share it. And I'll share another thing related to what Jane said. She said she had in her Sunday school class, they were talking about discipleship. And this is four-year-old, right? And she was learning about the word disciples. And the one little boy said, help me if I get this right, disciple. I want to be a disciple. Can I be a disciple? And I think that's the question we need to ask. Can we be disciples? Are we disciples? And I think the definitive answer is yes. So from this meeting, I think we have our charge to go forward. And so let's do that. Heavenly Father, help us as we go forward this week to be those disciples, to be those friends, to show your love and bring them to you. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.